obviously, and you don't make 100% of the trades you make. You don't make money on 100% of the trades you make. And then I want to know, how do you find these projects? So what's the solution? Like, what's if somebody wanted to find, let's say they invest in all these, but they don't have access to another one of your podcasts, and they want to know, how do they find the next best coin to invest in? And then also, last question, tell us, what's the craziest return you made on one coin?
In terms of safer plays, my favorite two coins, the ones I hold the most of, is still BitTensor Tau, which is basically like the Bitcoin of AI coins.
How do you spell that? Or what's the ticker symbol?
TAO. So
Tau.
Tau.
Yeah.
It's the same coin I recommend to that guy. And I've been in since $50, and now it's around 600. But it's still my biggest investment by far, because you need to look at narrative. I'll talk about why you need to look at these coins as well. A is narrative. AI coins, I think, are going to go absolutely crazy. You have, Nvidia over 2 trillion valuation. You have all this hype. The same plays over into AI coins. So, and then you look at the tokenomics. And
what do they do with AI? What does Tau do with AI?
So Tau is basically like a decentralized learning platform. So why I stumbled upon this project originally is that I was on ChatGPT, and we'll talk about this. Is also my greatest ever return, one of them. Like, I went in very heavily with this. But I was on ChatGPT, and I was like, write a poem about Joe Biden. Oh, Joe Biden, you're so old and wise. Write a poem about Donald Trump. Hey, we can't talk about politically sensitive figures. I'm like, okay, so these information models, which are how the masses get access to information, are completely warped. Like, they can't write a poem about Andrew Tate, but they can write one about Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is completely warped. People don't want this biased information.
Such an interesting guy.
And and then BitTensor Tau is basically a decentralized AI model. So it's chained with data on chain. So you can see, like, transparently what information it's being fed. Because Google is feeding these AIs information. You don't know what it's feeding it. Microsoft is feeding ChatGPT information. You know what it's feeding it. And this biased information creates these biased outputs. That's why I have these very, leftist AIs. When you ask it to generate a picture of the founding fathers, it's like LGBT women and like, it's random. It's not historically accurate at all. So basically, it's trained decentralized and on chain, so that it's transparent, the information it's being fed, and there's no single point of failure. If Google's, cloud computers shut down, the thing doesn't work. But it's BitTensor, it's trained off everyone's computer. So if you want to mine the network, you basically give up computing power from your PC. So your PC right now at home is doing nothing.
Yes.
And 98% of PCs at all time are not working. So you get paid in Tau to rent out your computer. So say now,
that's what all the projects do, no?
a lot of them, but it depends on. I mean, you have Render, and you have like a bunch of these different AI projects. But what makes, for me, BitTensor so attractive is the tokenomics. So it has 21 million.
Sorry, what's BitTensor?
BitTensor is Tau. It's a TAO is the ticker, but BitTensor is the name of the project. But basically, what makes it so attractive for me is that you have the same tokenomics as Bitcoin. You have 21 million max supply. A lot of these AI coins are very inflationary. They just keep adding more tokens.
Sorry to interrupt.
Of course.
What does AI have to do with BitTensor?
That is what the project does. So every crypto coin has its own purpose. Yes. So Bitcoin is very different to ETH, and Tau is basically the coin for BitTensor, which is this AI program. So Solana, every coin has something different, and the coin is basically like what fuels the ecosystem. Like Solana, the coin is what you use to trade on the Solana network, which you can use to buy the meme coins, whatever it is. And it's the same in BitTensor.
But I want to know just where artificial intelligence plays into it.
Yeah, so basically it's decentralized computing power. So say I have this AI model that I want to train. So I want to train my own ChatGPT that specifically is good at creating content ideas, whatever it is. Instead of now buying a supercomputer like Google does, they have these massive, warehouses with thousands of computers. I can just rent out, your computer and pay you in Tau, and then they get access to your computer, and I train my model using your computer. So I'm renting out a bunch of different computing space instead of using one centralized server where you then have to buy some supercomputer, and there's also not enough GPUs. And it's the most in-demand resource in the world is computing power. That's why Nvidia is at plus 2 trillion. Whereas gold and things like this are also valuable. But computing power right now is the most in-demand thing. Everyone wants it, and majority of it is not utilized. My computer right now is sitting at home doing nothing. So basically it fixes that solution in terms of such a scarce resource like computing power. Another project I really like is Avalanche. I think for crypto gaming, also narrative-based, has some of the biggest influencers on board with it. And it's basically what all the games are being built on. So like, in the gold rush, sell the shovels. You have all these different games being built on. You can make crazy returns, like investing in these single games, like Axie Infinity last run. I made a lot of money off.
So Axie Infinity is on
No, Axie Infinity is on ETH, but there's a lot of games now being built. It's become like the breeding hub for these games. So instead of investing in these singular games where we have high risk, it might get players, it might not, rather than invest in the underlying ecosystem that's fueling everything. And that's been a thesis a lot of time, like where you want to just invest in the underlying asset instead of speculating on these smaller coins.
And GameFi is very interesting because, previously people used to play games and earn these in-game currency, which would be completely useless. But now you can get this in-game currency and actually make a living by playing games. You know, that's why I feel like that's super interesting. I think even GTA, there's rumors that the coin that you're going to use in GTA is going to be a real cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I think things like that are super cool because not only you have a financial reward to it, like, you know, I called this guy in the Philippines, my friend, and he was just earning like $70 an hour playing Axie Infinity.
Yes.
And he's like, that's a ridiculous amount of money. So these whole villages playing these play to earn games. But I think it goes a level deeper than that. It's also ownership. Say your Fortnite skin, you pay for your Fortnite skin, you know, you can get banned, you can get a bunch of things and you lose access to that.
Yes.
Whereas if you actually own it as an NFT, and it doesn't need to be this complicated NFT things, it'll be so seamless, like internet technology is now.
Yeah.
Like it's still so in the early days. It won't have to be this NFT, you have to register.
Yeah, it'll probably just be on your gallery, on your photo gallery.
You won't even know that it's an NFT, but you'll be able to sell it. I mean, similar to like CSGO skins are kind of already like that, in the sense that, you know, you can sell them and you have this marketplace and it'll be built in through the game. And so you actually get, you know, rewarded. And even if you never trade it back to its own currency, you can have in-game where, like, you know, say you sell your skin and now you can buy this other skin. Whereas in Fortnite, you know, you can't scale your skin. You've bought the skin, you've paid real money to them, and now, you know, you can't do anything with it.
Not
you
much
can,
marketplace, yeah.
And you can trade it for new things, or you can even swap it from, you know, say Epic Games owns this other game.
Yeah.
That you have this whole ecosystem and it becomes like a marketplace of itself.
Yes, interesting. Okay. All very interesting stuff. I like what you said about I mean, it's a very common phrase in the gold rush. Sell the shovels.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to mine gold, but the real money is in the selling shovels. Wouldn't you say that, for example, Binance or BNB would be a good token because of that? Because they're honestly, that's one thing which scares people a bit about crypto, is that a lot of, like, the number one place really to buy crypto is Binance, and it's becoming almost a monopoly where they're dominating the industry so much. Is that something you think about?
Yeah, I think if you read the original white paper from Satoshi, his vision for Bitcoin is not at all what it's become. It's become less. It was made to be like a peer-to-peer. That's what it's called, a peer-to-peer transaction network. But it's not like that at all. It's become more of like a digital value. Digital gold is more than it is. Like, people don't pay each other in Bitcoin very often.
Yes.
It's become more of a hedge against inflation, a store of wealth. So I don't think his original vision of decentralization is true at all, because you have a few mining places. You know, these places in like Mongolia, these massive, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, these massive factories with cheap energy that have, you know, they control, like, you know, a good amount of the network, nothing too crazy, but a few central players control the network. I mean, Michael Saylor owns 2% of Bitcoin. I mean, he's running it like a meme coin. That's a ridiculous amount for any one entity to hold. If they dump, like, it would wreck the chart. Same with these players like Binance. They control so much, not necessarily of Bitcoin, but of the altcoins. I mean, it's at 2 trillion now, so that's 400 billion basically. Yeah, I mean, this is assets and things like that. But so it's a ridiculous amount that these few entities hold. And also the mining is not decentralized at all. There's a few key players. I think the top 10 control 50% of the network, which is like insane. And you have these gigafactories, and if they get raided, they get shut down, you know, the network takes a real hit. So it isn't as decentralized as people think. And even things like Ethereum, like, you know, there's a face behind Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, that's a person. We saw what happened to Ton when Pavel Durov, you know, the price of these coins, you know, tanked. But that's why I think Bitcoin is still the safest and the biggest by far, is because there is no entity behind it. If Vitalik Buterin dies, Ethereum is going to tank at least 50% just off the news. And they can put some new place, they can try to fix some things. But, you know, we saw when Pavel went to jail, what happened to Ton. So Bitcoin, there is no single entity behind it. And Satoshi either has to be dead or he has to be a billionaire, because he has 50 billion in tokens that he's never touched. The amount of discipline and stoicism that it takes to have access to 50 billion liquid that he could sell and disappear forever, as in those tokens have still never been moved. So you have to be either the most stoic person ever, he died 10 years ago before the Bitcoins were worth anything, or he's a billionaire himself. And I think it's either one of those things. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the known tech entrepreneurs that we know is, you know, Satoshi at the same time. I have a conspiracy theory that it might be Elon Musk. There's a few signs at it.
Interesting.
And he also started X, which was also, you know, PayPal. He started the first, you know, centralized payment exchange, and then he got bored down there. A bunch of things went down there. And then very quickly after, and then Bitcoin was started, and he learned the same coding language that Bitcoin is built on. So there's a bunch of little conspiracy theories like that.
But then I don't think he'd be promoting Doge so much.
maybe. But also, he was one of the only people that would need the money. You know, what's extra 50 billion to him. So overall, I think Bitcoin is by far if you just want exposure, just touch Bitcoin. I wouldn't even touch ETH. If you want to go, like, you know, 10 years down the line. I think ETH will do better this cycle.